something on that, but it was a partnership with the DEA.
Okay.
So.
And if that happens again, we could have enough advance warning that we can make sure it's in those publications, also on the county website too.
Yes, sir. We will do that. Make sure.
All right. And the last thing before you go, you're understand doing some window etching to prevent stolen cars.
Yes, sir. We did some window etching, and that was done the 23rd of May, and that was at the Ladysmith Pharmacy as well. And we're going to have another one on National Night Out on August the 2nd, and that will be in Ladysmith Village by the library. And a lot of people have taken advantage of it. We did like 35 cars that particular day. It was very successful. And if you want to see what it looks like, if you're concerned about what your windows will look like, I had my police car done so we can show it as an example if anybody would like to see it. It's the one outside here. All right, sir?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak as part of citizens' public comments? Okay. If not, we'll move on. Thank you for those who came to speak. Public hearings, we have 4. The board is going to do a public hearing agenda item number 6 first. So we'll do 6, 4, 5, and then 7. I can really count. Okay, I can't tell time, but I can count. We're going to do the VDOT one first. Mr. White, that's not you, that is? Ms. Argent, if you would come forward. Board has a copy already of the proposed 6-year plan.
Good evening. My name is Susan Gardner of the Virginia Department of Transportation. The Code of Virginia requires that the County Board of Supervisors, in conjunction with the Department of Transportation, formulate a 6-year secondary improvement plan and a priority list for the secondary improvement budget. Tonight's public hearing is being conducted for the FY 2012 through FY 2017 plan and the 2012 fiscal budget year. In updating the 6-year plan, we have followed the priorities established last year. Construction priorities: Route 639, Ladysmith Road, from Route 1 to 2.35 miles east of Route 1. Route 633, Bull Church Road Bridge replacement. Unpaved roads: Route 642, Rollins Corner Road, Route 733, Schoolhouse Road, Route 751, Coleman Town Road. This year's budget follows the first year of the secondary 6-year plan, which is the fiscal year 2012, which has an allocation of $104,073 and an allocation throughout the next 6 years of $594,303. Please keep in mind this plan is only for improvements and no new construction. It does not include maintenance work such as patching potholes, pulling ditches, snow removal, or repaving roads. At this time, we solicit any comments for the public for the 6-year plan and budget. And I do have one request. I have checked in to Mr. Popowitz's crossing, and we have had conversations back and forth. They have made an estimate to us for $7,620, which would cover strictly the materials to concrete that crossing on Route 606, and CSX would then provide all the labor to do it. And I am requesting that we take that a little bit of additional money that we had and put it towards that to improve that crossing.
Okay, just to be clear, when you say CSX will provide the labor,
yes, sir.
Does that mean free, or does that mean provided and I got to pay for it?
It's their responsibility to repair the crossing. They will. They are not going to concrete it, but if we pay for the materials to concrete it, which is $27,000, they will install the concrete for us. So if not, the estimate is well over $100,000. If we have to pay directly to CSX, that concrete and labor is well over $100,000. So it's a deal for the county. Trust me,
Have I got a deal?
They're not going to concrete it for you. They're not going to do it. We've tried everything, but they have made the deal. If we pay for the materials of concrete, they will provide the labor.
Okay, but I was listening very carefully.
Okay.
You said CSX was responsible.
They're responsible to put back asphalt. They're not responsible to put back permanent concrete.
So theoretically, if the asphalt only lasts a year, we
They're-
could say that you have to come back every year and put
They would
asphalt.
have to come back every year. And
So why would I not tell them to come back every year to put asphalt instead of spending $27,000? I just want to theoretically work through this whole thought process.
they're not as responsive as we feel they should be, and we feel that there's hazards there that we're not allowed to go out there and pat next to the rails. So we can sit there and browbeat them and say, please come back and, repair this, repair this, repair this. And they're just not as quick as I think the county should have. So we can do that every year. We can call them every year to come back and repair, if that's what you would like.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Yeah, I know, but we've been one-on-one with CSX, with local people, with people in Florida. They're just not responding as quickly as we would like. So we were trying to move towards having a more permanent repair there for y'all, instead of having to call them every year to come out there and do repairs, and and they're not responding. Like when you call us, we have a pothole. I mean, we go out and we fix it, but they're not as quick.
Quick is a relative term.
Well, I think Mr. Popowitz is going to respond to that as they haven't been quick.
But I mean, it's quick if I call you and say there's a pothole. You
Right.
might come a month or two later. That's quick to you.
No.
To me, once I ran over the pothole, you should be there next day. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying is relative.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not going to push it. Mr. Popowitz, convince us in your case.
First of all, I was telling the folks from VDOT earlier, I've had several calls. They have changed the gates that come down, the lights, and we have had several incidences, about 10 of them actually, one of them being one of my own family members. Because of the situation there, you have to go at a crawl, and I don't mean 5 miles an hour, probably something under that. One of the Amtrak trains, the gate came down behind them, and they had to kind of swerve one out of the way and get through there rather quickly, or they would have been hit by the train. And I've had several other instances of the same thing happening with the Amtrak trains. And that's just recently. Since this has happened, they came out about a year and a half ago and put in asphalt. We have major truck traffic on 606. It's a pass-through from 95 to Route 2. It's not just car traffic that's out there. This facility gets bumped and bumped and bumped, and it just tears the devil out of this track. And this particular item is more of a safety hazard to me. I mean, someone's going to get hit by a train out there if this continues. And I just don't want to see that. This is truly a safety hazard. Somebody's going to get killed. And I'm not exaggerating that. I mean, when you have a gate coming down behind your car after you've already started through the track and the train's coming at you, there's a problem.
There's $27,000. There's no matching county funds. This is all state funding.
It's all state funds. It's just the funds coming straight out of the 6-year plan.
But I'm basically delaying or not doing something in the 6-year plan to do this because that money wasn't factored in right away.
If you don't factor in the 27,000, then it won't get done. This is a deal we've sort of kind of worked out. They have said that if VDOT will pay for the material, and they will provide the labor, and this is where we have found the money. So
it comes from our funding for the 6-year plan.
it'll be construction money. There is, the maintenance is used for your ditching and things like this. So
For the potholes we call you about.
and we will be more than happy to come and fix them straight away. Next day, 2 days. 2 days, okay.
All right, so we are going to basically, if we decide to do that, we're going to add $27,000,
Right.
and that means that, well, really there's not a lot in here that we're going to do.
We have funded, totally funded all the projects that are on here. There is some, about 156,000 that, if you would like, we can put towards a new unpaved road. There is another 63 that that's where we'll take the 27,000 out and then put that towards another, unpaved road if you'd like. I have provided you with an unpaved road list.
And we didn't have enough money to do any of the unpaved roads anyhow.
Pardon me?
We did not have enough money to do any of the unpaved roads in the first year, did
Yes,
we?
the
We have 233 for Ryland Road. And,
yes, that's fully funded, sir.
Okay, the ones you highlighted are fully funded, okay.
Yes, Rylands Road is fully funded and is on the schedule to be done this year.
Okay, all right.
As of July 1
Okay,
of this year, Schoolhouse Road will be fully funded, so it'll be done next year.
question was, what happens if the concrete fails? After a year? Same thing, call them back again and say, hey, fix it?
We're gonna hope it doesn't fail. If concrete fails that fast, then we got a technical problem with concrete, then we're gonna get some other people involved.
Okay.
We're gonna get more than, CSX. Let me say this, they've put these up at, the crossing right there on, right there at the CVS, Lansdowne, and, they've withheld for years, and it's, I don't know, Ronnie, do you remember when they put them down? 5, 6 years, and they haven't had any problems with it, so.
Those are made for heavier traffic, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me?
They're made for heavier traffic.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, considering the obvious safety hazards,
right.
I don't have a problem with adding that to it. And I wanted to make sure we didn't bump another project because we were adding something else.
No.
Okay.
Only thing else, I would like if you could possibly look at your unpaved roads, and your unpaved roads already have a ranking on them, and if you would like, you can go ahead and rank 4 through 6, so we can, plan for next year. We know Durrett Road still has development issues on it. And then the next one that has the highest is Faulkner Lane, which is Route 741.
Okay. Oh, this piece is not. Yeah, okay. So Durrett Road, the discussion we were having, Durrett Road is that piece that goes back to the school.
Right. This section on here actually is the section past the school to the dead end. I know that the section in the front was in the development section, and in the past years y'all had chose not to even put that on the list. So y'all had, in years past, had just decided to hold off on Durrett Road until it had, got from Route 1 back.
Right.
Okay. The next one was Faulkner, then Sorrell Lane, then Old CC Road.
I think why don't we just rank them by the vehicle rating, by the vehicle trips per day,
Okay.
and that's
Sounds
the
great.
way.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's kind of what we'll do,
That's perfect.
and we're ready to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, were there any, Ryland is number 1. No, we're ranking 4 through 7 by the ranking. Okay,
Okay.
I think we're ready. I think we had all the questions we needed to for VDOT, so we will declare the public hearing for fiscal year 2012 through fiscal year 2017 secondary system construction program to be open. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding the 6-year plan for VDOT? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding the 6-year plan for VDOT? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding the 6-year plan for VDOT? Hearing none, public hearing is declared closed. How does the board wish to dispose of this matter? Adopt the 6-year plan as presented with the additions?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Second. Okay, motion made by Mr. Popowitz, unanimously seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. That motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll look for the concrete tomorrow. All right, agenda item number 4, exception 02-2011, Atlantic Rural Expo, doing business at State Fair, Virginia, requesting an amendment to special exception permit in accordance with Article 17, Section 13, standards for special use permit. Condition 10, to allow fireworks only as part of a State Fair event and not to exceed 4 evenings. Mr. Fincham.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Atlantic Rural Exposition is requesting an amendment to SPEX 08-2005, specifically to amend Condition 10 related to that use permit to allow fireworks only during and as part of the State Fair event itself, and not to exceed 4 nights during the State Fair. In considering this request, the Planning Commission also added a couple of other caveats to the suggested amendment, that being that fireworks display would have to conclude by 11 o'clock, and that the safety plan would be amended to include appropriate safety criteria related to the display of fireworks. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this request. They were concerned about parking along Route 30 and Route 652, people pulling off on the sides of the road, and that was part of their request, also related to the safety plan amendment. However, the state police and sheriff's personnel have been very good about making sure that Route 30 and 652 stay clear of traffic. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request to the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fincham. Any questions the board have of Mr. Fincham at this time? Okay, Mr. Fincham, the applicant is here. I have a question of the applicant. Mr. Roberts, good to see you. Come on down. You have not to exceed 4 evenings for the year, right?
Yes, sir. During a single year of a fair event.
Right.
Correct.
My question was, do you intend to have one or one of those 4 events for the 4th of July?
No, sir, because it's only during the days of the state fair. It cannot be outside of those days.
Oh, okay.
And it would compete with King's Dominion's.
That's, yeah. Or a state fair event or an event authorized by the state fair?
No, sir. Only the 11 days of the state fair is it allowed.
Okay. Mr. Underwood, you were just saying that same statement, or did
That's
you have
correct.
a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. He's saying during the state fair, those, like I said, those 11 days, they choose to have fireworks for those days. They're looking for exemption to this amendment.
Can I get you to do one on the 4th of July?
I'm sorry?
Can I get you to do one on the 4th of July?
I don't think you can ask that, Mr. Chairman, yet.
What? He didn't say anything. Ben, you gonna say anything? I'm just asking among friends.
We got a few more friends in here than maybe we ought to be having that conversation in front of, but Mr. Chairman, the King's Dominion has a very large fireworks exhibit, an exhibition, which is typical, and sometimes they do it 2 nights. Okay. The question from the Planning Commission that actually related to traffic and congestion along routes 30 and 652 are because those roads are not posted except during the fair. So on the 4th of July, those roads are pretty congested and lined by people just simply parking on the shoulder. That's not allowed during the fair because we post those roads with the authorization of VDOT and the state police.
I was just looking for an added benefit to this for the county, but I see you're rebuffing my advances, so I have no problem with that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's simply my job to propose and your job to dispose, so.
I am so tempted to say moving on to the next agenda, but I won't.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for Mr. Fincham or the applicant at this time? Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you.
We will declare public hearing for special exception 02-2011 to be open. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. How does the board wish to dispose of this agenda item?
I make a motion that we accept the SPX 02 2011 amendment as presented by staff.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Popowitz, seconded by Mr. Seeley. Discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I absolutely disagree. I think I talked to a couple neighbors to the fair, and they were concerned that when we originally adopted to have the state fair come, part of the agreement was there would be no fireworks. And they want us to live up to that agreement, that there would be no fireworks. I think we should, if anything, look at each occurrence, which is only one apparently for the state fair. But they're saying they feel that this exemption should not be accepted by this board.
Okay, we actually do have a motion on the floor, but I need clarification. Mr. Fincham, could you clarify that, what Mr. Underwood just said? I don't actually recall if that was the original arrangement with the state fair.
Number 10.
Just we have that.
Oh.
He doesn't. I mean, they don't.
Mr. Chairman, I do recall there was a lot of discussion about fireworks as well as other uses that were modified over time. There was no restriction in the rezoning itself related to the display of fireworks. The specific condition in the special use permit says is under major entertainment uses not included in a fairground. It says fireworks shall not be permitted. I do recall that there was discussion by the applicant about circumstances under which fireworks could be permitted. And it was just the question or the discussion was during the state fair itself. However, because of this condition in the use permit, I think that condition that was adopted by the board does preclude the display of fireworks unless it is amended by the Board of Supervisors. Yes, there was a lot of discussion back and forth. And yes, there's a question about, was it permitted, was it not permitted? I think by the regulations themselves, it's not permitted.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we all had that clarification. Thank you, Mr. Finch. Motion still on the floor. Motion by Mr. Popowitz, seconded by Mr. Seeley, to approve special exception 02-2011. Any other discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. And it's up, Mr. Fincham.
Mr. Fincham, one more time.
I understand the difference between fireworks and laser lights. I know the difference between the two.
Yes, sir.
But I see where we allow laser light display at the fairgrounds during the fair. I'm just wondering why the fireworks was pulled out and still we allowed the laser lights. The other question I have is, on our copy, and I'm assuming this is what happened, the side of it, there's two asterisks and it says condition to be amended. Is that what you put in there as you amended this this particular time?
Yes, sir.
So that was not a
That was not
footnote
included.
that says that, okay, we're going to amend it at a later date.
That's correct. That was not included in the original conditions approved by the board. That's related to this request.
Go ahead.
Perhaps the difference between the two is the noise potential with your fireworks display versus the laser light show. I don't recall the specific discussions, how that evolved over time. That would be a plausible explanation as to why there was a differentiation between the two.
Okay, and I guess I have a question of the applicant as well. Under laser lights, and what I'm looking at here, it does not put a time limit on the laser light show. Is that right, Mr. Fincham? I mean, he could have the laser lights going off for 3 hours.
As many as you want.
Yeah, as many days as he wants during the fair.
11 days.
Right, and as long as he wanted, he could have it started, you know, as soon as dusk until fair closes. According to this, there's no limit on the length of a show for laser lights.
Correct. The laser lights would be subject to the other time limits contained elsewhere in the regs.
For the fair?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so the fair goes to 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, whatever the dates are. The fireworks display, is it possible to put a time limit? Fireworks are expensive, number one, and you could not afford for them to be going off for so long. We used to have the show here in Caroline County, and I think it cost us like $20,000 or $25,000 for maybe a 15 or 20 minute show, something like that, fireworks show, so they're expensive. Would you be in opposition to limiting the time that firework display would be going on?
No, sir.
4 days, I understand, but I'm talking about the length of the show.
No, I understand what you're asking me. Is it a 30-minute show?
Yeah,
Is it an hour
that's what
show?
I'm
Or
asking.
I understand that, and I can't imagine we do anything longer than 30 minutes. But without discussing that with our provider, because we haven't designed this, I would hate to get completely tied down with that if you could give me an hour not to exceed. But I can't imagine that we would do it even that long, but it would at least give me the flexibility. I would like to address one issue that was raised here about what we said we would and would not do. What started this conversation with Mr. Fincham is there's a conflict between what we proffered and what the ordinance ultimately said. We proffered to have laser light shows and fireworks during the fair. That is in our proffers that we presented to the county. There clearly is was something didn't make the translation over into the special exception.
The ordinance
The laser light shows were picked up, but the fireworks were not stated in the same way as we proffered them.
Okay. Mr. Roberts, let me continue with what's going on. That was all the discussion on the motion. Would you like to continue with the motion, Mr. Popowitz?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I can't, fireworks are expensive. Mr. Akers is correct. When we did them for the county for 4th of July, they were.
I mean, we just want to make sure we're going to go ahead, yes or no. I just want to make sure there were no more questions regarding the.
I do have a concern.
You have a question?
I have a concern, Mr. Chairman, as far as the people that, I think we've got to be as good as that word from the standpoint, from that standpoint. But I do believe also that if we can work out some type of arrangement where the fair 4 days or 4 nights out of the 11-day span, that we can allow fireworks. I think we need to try to work with them in doing that as well. But I think if we can limit it to a specific time frame that fireworks show would be going off, I think that may help the citizens in that area as well.
The obligation of this seat here is to voice the concerns of the residents of that area. So I am voicing the concerns of the residents. I've heard from the residents, and they say it was agreed upon in the ordinance that there would be no fireworks. And they said they feel we should uphold that. Now, if the rest of the board members choose to say it's fine for whatever period, I'm voicing the concern of the constituents who say no fireworks.
You have that right, and that's what you're supposed to do.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's what they want to be heard.
If I may make one more comment, Mr. Chair.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Akers, having worked with several different fireworks displays and knowing the company that actually the fair is using, they would tell you that more than maybe 35 minutes. People get bored with those, so that would probably be the maximum amount of time you'd see a fireworks display, even if you gave them an hour. I'm not willing to amend my motion. I think that it stands as it is.
Well, I've been to the fireworks in D.C., and I was not bored after 45 minutes, so loud bangs and explosions and lights, it didn't bother me or bore me, but I would like you to withdraw your motion so that we could make a more concrete definition of the time frame that the fireworks would be allowed and the duration if that's what we decide to do. But if you decide not to withdraw your motion, we could go on and continue and go now. However, a negative vote on this particular special exception means they would have to wait another year before they could bring it back. Is that right, Mr. Fincham? Well, special exception is different than rezoning, so it's not another year.
It's still a zoning amendment, so the time frames would be the same.
So it's still a year. And let them clarify it. Or we vote on it and vote it up or down right now. Mr. Popowitz, your choice.
I'll withdraw the motion with the understanding that the applicant will then come back and we'll get a clarification from the applicant, if you're willing to.
I guess I have a question. Mr. Roberts, how soon, I mean, it's May. What are we looking for as a time frame? I understand, but you got to have a contract in place soon for those folks. And I guess are we talking about 9 to 10 o'clock or 10 to 11 o'clock?
That's what we're going to let him and Mr. Fincham go back and then bring it back to us. We already held the public hearing.
Did the Planning Commission have these kinds of questions?
No, sir. No one spoke against it at the Planning Commission.
No, I understand. I'm just I didn't see any comments from the Planning Commission. That's why I was curious.
We have the last one. I understand Mr. Popowitz is willing to withdraw his motion.
If we are talking to the applicant now, I'm not going to withdraw my motion if we're not going to talk to the applicant now.
That's what we're doing.
Okay. Because I'm not going to wait another, because I'm going to redo my motion if we come to an understanding right now.
Well, you have the opportunity now to make us come to an understanding.
Okay, that's what I want to clarify from the board, because what I was hearing was we were going to come back at some other time. I want to get this over with tonight so that Mr. Roberts can move forward.
Mr. Roberts, if we were to deliberate this a little more, would the 24th, which is our next meeting, be an issue for you? We've held the public hearing, we've complied with that. We just need to have you come back and say these are the hours that we're willing to do the fireworks, this is the duration of fireworks. Are you willing to do that?
Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to be uncooperative, but you know, we've spent a lot of time working through the system and the process with this application. We've agreed to only 4 nights. We've agreed to everything the staff has asked us to do. If you're asking for a time limit right now, I think given the discussion that went on here, probably 45 minutes would be acceptable to us. I would rather resolve this now so that we can get on with our planning and get on with our business.
I'll support that.
Mr. Underwood? Yeah, I think you still have the same perspective, though. Doesn't matter. 45 minutes or 10 minutes.
At this point, absolutely. Again, the constituents say that we should hold where we are, and if it were in your backyard, you might feel a little different also. Whether it's 45 minutes, 15 minutes, if the ordinance says no, then you may feel a little differently. But since you're miles away, has no effect. Well, for those folks that it does, they voice their concern, and it's my obligation, whether I feel differently or not, to voice their concern so their voice can be heard, and that's what I'm doing tonight.
Well, I support you in the fact that you would like to represent what the people have said, and I'm willing to go along with you, but I would trade you Sunday morning at 7 o'clock with Fort A.P. Hill, which is very close to me, and I hear rapid fire, but that's not the issue. That's not the issue. So it's not a matter of not in my backyard or
the issue is it's written.
And I
it's written, and
okay.
that's why there's a special provision meeting tonight.
Okay, so we're gonna add a condition in the special exception that says not to exceed 45 minutes. That's what Mr. Roberts has said right now, still 4 times. That's your motion now again?
I'll reiterate my motion with the 45-minute exception added.
And I will amend my second to 45 minutes, because we're just amending motion.
Yes.
We have to vote on the amendment first, and then
No, he withdrew his motion. That's a brand new motion.
you withdraw.
Yeah, with
And I will second with the 45 minutes.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
The chair detects division. Mr. Underwood, how do you vote? Mr. Popowitz, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mr. Seeley, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mr. Akers, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote nay. But the motion carries 3-2. The special exception is approved. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Next agenda item is agenda item number 5, the proposed adoption of a resolution. The adoption of the resolution authorizing the issuance of a not to exceed $6 million general obligation school bond for the County of Caroline to be sold to the Virginia Public School Authority for the conversion of the Bowling Green Elementary School to a pre-K through 5 grade school. Mr. Parton?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the Caroline County was one of 33 school divisions, I believe, in the Commonwealth of Virginia to be allocated what's known as QSCAB, QSCB funds by the Department of Education. And the QSCAB program was originally part of the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act, or the stimulus funds. And what the program does is it allows localities to issue bonds to the Virginia Public School Authority, with the federal government subsidizing the interest cost, with the end result being that we pay no or almost no zero interest for that money. The sale of the bonds is not expected to impact the county's budget in FY12. The impact with the debt service payments would begin in FY13 at the earliest. And the board would need to adopt the resolution that you have before you tonight in order to qualify for the first sale through the VPSA, which is expected either this month or in June. And the staff's understanding that you intend to participate in that sale, and so you would need to adopt the resolution tonight if you wish to do so.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Parton at this time? Okay. We will declare the public hearing to be open for the issuance of general obligation school bonds for $6 million to convert Bowling Green Primary to a K-5 school. Public hearing is declared open. Anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter?
You can't put that down.
I saw you get up, Ms. Keith.
Linda Keith, Mattapanai. I know you know what I'm gonna say. So let's just do it. Let's just do it. Please don't debate it. Just do it. The schools need it. The teachers need it. We want to bring people into this county. Let's just do it. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. Motion for the approval would be in order.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we authorize the adoption of the resolution authorizing the issuance of a not to exceed $6 million general obligation school bond, Series 2011.
Second.
Oh, I was trying to sign the resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. We did it? Okay. Agenda item number 7. We actually need to take a break before we do that because Mr. Fincham wants to set up. Where's my school teacher friend? Okay. We are going to take a break. We're going to take a break for a supervisor 10-minute break. We're going to take a break based on the planet rotation of Jupiter. All right, 10 minutes. We'll give him 10, 5, 10. All right. We will reconvene slightly a little bit later. Mr. Fincham, you have agenda item number 7, which is the redrawing of election district boundaries resulting from the 2010 census and the proposed implementation of staggered terms for the Board of Supervisors. That is our public hearing. First, we'll review the election districts, and I imagine we can all see these. The board has copies of the PowerPoint, but if you need to cut the lights down, go right ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your next public hearing tonight is on the 2 redistricting options that the board advertised for public hearing. If you will recall, you held your first public hearing back at the April 12th Board of Supervisors meeting, and at that time you considered 5 and 7 district options. Pursuant to that meeting and at your work session on the 14th, the board discussed the redistricting options further and advised staff to advertise for public hearing tonight the amended 5 and 6 district options for your consideration. And as you stated, the issue of staggered terms has not yet been addressed by the board and is still on the table for consideration. You do have 2 draft ordinances at your desk, one for the 5 district option as well as one for the 6 district option, which goes with the plans that you are considering. Those are still being reviewed by the county's attorney's office, and any action tonight should reflect that final review by their office. And briefly, I'll recap a couple of points from the last public hearing. These are the current 5 districts that the board, or the then Board of Supervisors, adopted in 2001 after the completion of the 2000 census. The 5 districts obviously are Port Royal, Madison, Bowling Green, Mattaponi, and Reedy Church. In 2001, we were able to keep 2 minority-majority districts, which were first created back in the 1990 census. Between 2000 and 2010, and we've discussed this several times, the county's population has grown significantly. The adopted ordinance back in 2001 shows the district populations after that redistricting. The figures on the right-hand side show the current district populations based upon the 2010 census. And as you can see, Madison has almost doubled in size, necessitating the need to move much of that population out into other districts. The advertised 5-district plan, and this identifies some of the issues that the committee had identified. All the board members remain in their respective districts. We are able to keep Reedy Church as a minority-majority district. We believe that this addresses the non-retrogression provisions of the federal law, and it minimized any concerns about dilution of minority voting strength. This is the 5-district plan that the board advertised for public hearing tonight. It is not substantially different from the plan that the committee